I wanted to get into the national championship. And Speedy, before I go back and forth on what I think is going to happen in national championship, you are my expert. From me and you, I'm not the expert in national championship. I know some of these teams very, very well. I know Nick Saban. I understand what he's all about. I understand what Georgia and Alabama, how the SEC has been dominated by these two teams. I also know the head coach in Kirby. We all know Kirby. He was the assistant coach on the Alabama Crimson Tide before he took this job. And really, Georgia hasn't beaten the Crimson Tide in 7 straight games. So they're bound to win. So, Speedy, what is your thoughts going into the national championship on Monday?
There are concerns for Alabama that I have with their offensive line in particular, and a lot of it had to do with the edge rushers of Cincinnati really doing a good job at, one, containing Bryce Young for most of that game and also being able to stop the run. Alabama pulled away in the second half, yeah, but that game was close in the first half for quite a while. Cincinnati's defense in that front seven was making it very hard for them to be a balanced team. Alabama had to rely a lot on their slot receivers, which with the talent that Georgia has in the middle of the field, with the safeties, with a linebacker like Nakobe Dean, who's very talented, and a lot of speed on that defense, it's going to be very hard for you to be able to win this game relying on slot receivers. And that's why somebody like Jamison Williams is going to have to play better. Some of these tight ends are going to have to play better. Even some of the running backs, maybe they have to be the ones catching passes, trying to spread Georgia out a little more, because if you play the middle of the field game with Georgia, it's going to be very hard for you to win. And they tried to do that a lot against Cincinnati, and Cincinnati did well. They hung tough for a while. If Cincinnati's offense was even somewhat competent in that game, you're looking at a completely different game. Alabama still might win, but it might look closer than it was, because they didn't really look great in the first half, especially with that offensive line. And Georgia's pass rush is lethal. That defense is historically good. Now, for their offense, Georgia, they're going to need to still be able to spread the ball around nicely. Stetson Bennett proved a lot against Michigan, who has a good secondary. They're better against the run, but they still have a good defense in the back end, too. And he proved a lot. Now, he's still going to have to be able to stretch the field against Alabama. You're not going to be able to get away with some of the things. Even with Alabama having a lot of losses on that defense, Nick Saban's scheme will still be able to make a difference with that defense. So he's going to have to stretch the field. And if he doesn't stretch the field, here comes JT Daniels, a guy that can stretch the field. Brock Bowers is a tight end that played very well in that game against Michigan, who have good linebackers, have good safeties. So can they expose that matchup, spread him around too? They don't have George Pickens anymore at wide receiver, so they're going to really have to be rotating there too. And their running game too. Can they win at the line of scrimmage? Alabama can stop the run. Their front seven's very good, just like Georgia's. So those are the key matchups. Georgia has the duo of the running backs, so Kirby Smart is also going to have to be creative with that too and try to outcoach Nick Saban. You have to do some different things than you normally do, so we'll see if he's up to the challenge.
And Bryce Young will be the face of this championship game because he is the Heisman Trophy winner. He is the one that everybody thinks is the chosen one to come out of Alabama and be the predominant number one pick next year. We've heard this before. Devontae Smith last year being the Heisman Trophy winner for Alabama. That's back-to-back years an Alabama player has won the Heisman Trophy. Obviously, the Alabama Crimson Tide has been the most dominant team in all of college football. But like you were saying, Jamison Williams and Kool-Aid McKinstry, yes, and then Brian Robinson, who is a senior, he's going to go to the NFL. And he proved himself in the Fab Four championship game. So I just think that when you look at this national title, it's Georgia's to win and Alabama to just completely shut them down and bury them, because next year Alabama's going to have all their players back and Georgia's going to have a lot of their players go to the NFL, so they're going to be rebuilding. So Alabama, if they don't get knocked off this year, they're not getting knocked out next year.
Yeah, this was always kind of the transitional year for Alabama. They were still supposed to be good, but it wasn't the same obvious national championship type team. A lot of new receivers all at once, a lot of new offensive linemen all at once, and Bryce Young still played very well amidst those circumstances. But this is a very, very good Georgia defense. And also Alabama, the last time they won back-to-back championships was at the beginning of the last decade, too. And that was really early in Nick Saban's tenure. So it's still not easy to win back-to-back championships. And a lot of times when you see all these rematches, eventually they figure one out. And Georgia's lost in a lot of weird ways, switching quarterbacks with Alabama. When Tua came in for Hurts, then in the SEC championship game next year, Hurts came in for Tua when Tua got hurt. And so maybe Georgia does that kind of thing, too. Maybe it's the Bennett and Daniels playing, and maybe they throw Nick Saban Saban. Now, I don't think Nick Saban's going to be unprepared for that.
Bennett should not be playing in this game.
The question mark will be with a lot of these young defensive backs if they're going to be ready for that kind of adjustment, because JT Daniels has a very different skill set than Stetson Bennett. I think Stetson Bennett earned the right to at least start the game just the way he played with Michigan, but yeah, I do think you'll see Daniels in this game for sure.
It's going to be a very interesting championship. I have my bets with the Georgia Bulldogs, and I think they have a very good defense, one of the best defenses I've seen, fast defense. Fun to watch, really, really fun to watch. Both teams, this is going to be fun. It'll be a fun, yeah, I think it'll be very, very close as well. Before we go to break, Speedy, I want to get into a little bit of hockey. Your thoughts to the Rangers. What do the Rangers need to do coming back from COVID? They did not look good against Vegas. I'm so sick and tired of the Ranger fan calling Georgiev out because he had a bad game. And then when he has a good game, he stinks anyway. So I don't understand. It's really a hit or miss with this kid for the Ranger fans.
Yeah, I've never been a big Georgiev guy. I think he's done well in like certain emergency roles, but as a consistency basis, he hasn't been great since he first came up, which has usually been the gap with Rangers goaltenders as it is. Since they've come back from this break, they've been kind of streaky. They did well against the Lightning. They beat them twice and really dominated the second game they played, but they also lost to Florida where they collapsed. They got blown out by Vegas. So they've had some tough tests to start. Now, again, doing this without Shesterkin for a lot of the time outside of the one Lightning game is going to be a challenge that they're going to have to go forward with. He's going to be out again with COVID probably for another 3 games, maybe more. And whether it's Kincaid, whether it's Georgiev, somebody's going to have to step up in that kind of role. So the Rangers are going to have to buckle down defensively. They've been improved. Still not great, but they've been improved this year. And Gallant has really done a good job getting these forwards to play defense as well, which has helped them really avoid a lot of these like bad breakaways outside of the Vegas game. The Vegas game, just throw it away. One bad loss to a very good team. Play the way you did against Tampa. A lot of those kinds of things can carry over. They beat them twice in a row. That's hard to do for defending champs.
Absolutely. As far as the Islanders are concerned, well, when are they playing again? Who knows? Finally, the Islanders and the NHL get it right, but it might be a little too late because this should have happened months ago when the outbreak happened. The Islanders lost 8 games in a row before they actually tied a game, and now the Islanders are playing catch-up. And now before they get to play next week, Thursday, you're talking about them being behind the Rangers. The Rangers have 10 games over the Islanders. So are all the other teams. I mean, does it benefit them? Yes. But not really, because they're going to do double headers. They're going to be very, very tired throughout the season with a new arena, obviously. And that's not like a home game. That's an away game. And then traveling around the way they did in the beginning of the season because the Islander organization decided for them to be a traveling team the first month and go over 11,000 yards. Terrible. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
What they did to the Islanders. So that's my thought. They've won 2 games in a row since they've come back. They're starting to play good hockey. That's what you want to see with the Islanders. They're built for the playoffs.